Okay, welcome. You are at the challenge. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to open up our notebooks to page 71, and we are going to write operations with radicals at the top. Now this should be right next to page 70, which has our list of all of our perfect squares on it. If you don't have that list of perfect squares, those are the notes we took yesterday. So you're going to want to go to hashtag 231 in the Google Classroom to get that list of perfect squares. And we are on page 71, and we're writing operations with radicals at the top of the page. I'm not asking you to copy this in, but we are going to reference this picture. So if you don't have it, write it. Okay. So the first problem we're looking at is 5 square root of 75. So just like before, we're going to simplify this radical. Okay, and if I'm looking at 75, I know it falls right between 64 and 81. So 75 falls right there. Okay. So what I do, just like always, is I go to my handy dandy Desmos, my favorite website in the entire world. Okay. And I'm just going to start dividing. Okay. So I'm going to start with 64. So 75 divided by 64. Decimal, nope. Okay. So next up is 49. Let's see if I can get this nice. 49. Decimal. So now I got to do 36. Decimal. 25. Hey. Okay, so 25 was the first number we used, and it is right there. So I've got to rewrite this 75 as the square root of 25 times this 3 right here. Okay, so I've got to do the square root of 25 times 3. Now the 5 is still going to come along for the ride, and technically this is multiplication between them. Now, I know the square root of 25 could be positive 5 or it could be negative 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this square root of 25 as positive 5 or negative 5. It is still being multiplied by 5, and it still has the square root of 3. Now, 5 times positive 5 would make positive 25, and 5 times negative 5 would make negative 25. So that means I could just write this as positive or negative 25 square root of 3, and I'm done with this problem. Let's try it again. This time we've got a division problem. So I have the division problem, square root of 45 divided by 81. Now here's the magical thing. I can split this right away into square root of 45 over the square root of 81. Now I know what the square root of 81 is. It's positive or negative 9. It's on my list. So I'm just going to go ahead right away and write that 9 underneath. And I'm going to put the positive or negative outside of my fraction. That's just a personal preference. Okay. Now I got to find out with 45. Well, 45 is between 36 and 49. Okay. So I'm going to start with 36. 45 divided by 36. Decimals, cross it off and go to 25. Decimal, cross it off, 16. Decimal, 9. Hey, it's 5. So I'm going to do square root of 9 times the square root of 5. Now when I do this, I know square root of 9 is positive or negative 3. So I've got positive or negative 3. And I still have the positive or negative outside, so really I could just write it once and keep my square root of 5. Now I've got 3 and 9. I can take something out of 3 and 9, and I can even use Desmos to help me. 3 divided by 9 is 1/3. So instead of writing it as square plus or minus 3 square root of 5 over 9, I could just write this as plus or minus 1 square root of 3, square root of 5, plus or minus 1 square root of 5 over 3. Or I could simplify it even further because mathematicians are lazy and write plus or minus square root of 5 over 3 and make that 1 invisible. Both are totally appropriate, and one is not better than the other. They're totally fine either way. Okay, let's try the last one. So when we've got two things being multiplied together, what I personally like to do is I like to combine those radicals. So with multiplication, remember how we broke up a radical into two radicals? I can put it back together the same way. So I could do 3 times 2, and I'll get 6. And then I could do 6 times 30, and I'll get 180. And that way I only have to reduce one radical instead of two. So if I'm looking at my list over here, 180 is way down here towards the bottom. Why don't you pause the video and see if you could find what the biggest perfect square is that goes into 180. Remember, no decimals. Okay, I hope you got 36 like I did. 36 and 5 is what I got. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 square root of 36 times square root of 5. Okay, square root of 36 is 6, so I'm just going to write that as 6 times plus or minus 6 square root of 5. And again, I can multiply these to make plus or minus 36 square root of 5. And that's my final answer. It sounds like you're ready for a U-Try. So go ahead and try out these problems right down here. Pause your video, try them out. Okay, we'll see in just a second. Are you ready? So first problem, I'm going to combine my radicals to make it easier for myself. So 5 times 20 gives me 100. So that's negative 3 times the square root of 100. And hey, 100's on my list. So that means negative 3 times positive or negative 10, which is just positive or negative 30. Next up, I've got another radical that I can combine just by itself. So I've got 15 and 5. And McDonald's not so great at multiplication in her head. That's 75. Okay, so I've got 3 square root of 75. And hey, we just did 75. So I know 75 breaks up into square root of 25 times square root of 3. And I've got the 3 over here. So now I've got 3 times positive or negative 5 times the square root of 3. And then I'm just going to multiply the 5 and the 3 to give me 15. So I have positive or negative 15 square root of 3. Okay, and then the last one, again, I could just simplify it into 2 square roots. So what color haven't I used? Green. Okay, so I've got square root of 32 over square root of 9. Okay, square root of 9 is positive or negative 3. Square root of 32 I can write as square root of 16 times square root of 2. Square root of 16 gives me positive or negative 4. Square root of 2 over 3. If you did not get any of these answers and you don't understand what I just said to you, call your teacher over now. We're here to help. That is literally our entire job. Make us earn that paycheck. Ask us a question. Test our knowledge. Hey, before I leave you, I want to talk to you about one more thing. What do you think you will do for a problem like this? Now notice it's not multiplication like the other ones. I can't break a radical up into plus problems. So if you ever get a problem like this, you want to think of this radical right here as like a variable. So this is like negative 10x plus 12x. Okay? Because they match, I can combine this. They're like terms. If they didn't match, they would not be like terms. So because these have the same radical, I'm going to treat them like terms, and negative 10 plus 12 is 2, and then the square root of 7 goes along for the ride. Now, if we had something that was like negative 10 square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 7, I couldn't do that. I would have to leave it like this because those radicals are not like terms. So when it's multiplication, I could do it. When it's addition or subtraction, no, no, no. Thank you for paying attention and listening. We're going to do some practice now. I hope you are going to rock it. Let us know if you've got questions.